Have you ever wondered what happened to that missing person who was never found? And what if, years later, an important clue was discovered, completely changing the course of the investigation? Welcome to our channel, where today I will share a real and intriguing story that will leave you thinking until the end. So get ready for an exciting and mysterious journey that will keep you glued to the screen until the final revelation. Chapter 1: The Disappearance. Laura was a 22-year-old young woman who lived with her mother in a small house in her hometown. She was a calm and quiet person who enjoyed spending time reading and drawing. Laura had just graduated from college and was looking for a job in the arts field. On the day of her disappearance, Laura had left home for a night walk. She used to do this from time to time to relieve stress and think. Laura's mother was not initially worried, as she had done this before. However, as the night began to grow late and Laura had not returned, her mother became worried and called the police. The police immediately began a search, but found no clues to Laura's whereabouts. The news of the disappearance quickly spread throughout the town and the community came together to help find Laura. Search teams and volunteers spent days looking for her, but nothing was found. The town was in shock and concern for the safety of the community increased. People began locking their doors at night and being more vigilant. Laura's mother was inconsolable and Laura's friends were in shock. The police began investigating all possibilities, including a possible kidnapping or murder, but nothing was found. The small town community was devastated by Laura's mysterious disappearance and no one could imagine what had happened to her. Chapter 2: The Discovery. After months of unsuccessful searches, authorities began to believe that Laura's case would be just another one of the many unsolved disappearances. However, an anonymous phone call completely changed the course of the investigation. The person who called said they had important information about Laura's whereabouts and asked to meet with the police in an isolated location. The police were suspicious but decided to proceed with the meeting. When the team arrived at the agreed location, they found a folder with information about Laura's case. The folder contained photos, reports, and other evidence that pointed to the involvement of a local police officer in Laura's disappearance. The police were shocked and began to investigate the officer. He had been the first to arrive at the scene of the disappearance and had a suspicious history. Despite denying any involvement, the evidence against him was strong and the police began to build a case. The city was shocked by the possibility that a police officer may have been involved in Laura's disappearance. Confidence in the police was shaken and the community began to question the integrity of its police officers. Meanwhile, the investigation continued and the police tried to gather more evidence against the suspect officer. Laura's mother was devastated to learn of the news, and the local population was even more shaken by the possibility that a police officer could be responsible for Laura's disappearance. Chapter 3: The Businessman. The investigation into the suspected police officer continued and the police ended up discovering something even more surprising. During the analysis of the security footage from the night of Laura's disappearance, the police identified a car that had passed by the location of the disappearance shortly after Laura left. After checking the license plate of the vehicle, they discovered that it belonged to a local businessman who had been one of the main donors to the city's mayor's political campaign. The police began to investigate the businessman and discovered that he had a romantic interest in Laura, but she had rejected him. However, the investigation discovered that the businessman was not in town on the night Laura disappeared. He had traveled on business to another city and had a solid alibi for the day in question. This led the police to resume the investigation into the suspected police officer. After a long and meticulous process of investigation, the police finally found some evidence that pointed to the officer's guilt. They went to his house and took him to the police department for questioning. However, the officer refused to cooperate and vehemently denied any involvement in Laura's disappearance. The police decided to keep the officer in custody while the investigations continued, and they searched for more evidence to strengthen the case against him. Chapter 4: The Outcome. The interrogation of the officer was intense and lasted for hours, but he finally confessed. He admitted that, during the argument with Laura, things got out of control and he ended up pushing her too hard, causing her to hit her head on a rock and die instantly. After committing the crime, he panicked and didn't know what to do. He decided to hide the body in the lake, thinking it would delay the investigation and give him more time to come up with a convincing story. He also threw her backpack in a remote location to make it look like she had simply disappeared. The police officer's confession shocked the community, especially because he was a law enforcement officer and should have been on the side of the law. People wondered how he had been able to commit such a heinous crime and try to cover it up. The police department was also under fire because it appeared that they had covered up the officer's crime. The investigations continued, and legal proceedings began. The families of Laura and the police officer were devastated. While Laura's family struggled to accept their loss, the police officer's family struggled to accept that he had become a killer. The outcome of this story would change the lives of many people forever. Chapter 5: The Twist. The unexpected real ending of the story surprised everyone. Laura, who had been presumed dead, appeared at the police station a week after the police officer's confession. She said she had fled the town because she couldn't take the pressure anymore and decided to start a new life elsewhere. The community was shocked by the news that Laura was alive and that everything had been a misunderstanding. Laura apologized for the confusion she had caused and offered to cooperate with the authorities to clear the police officer's name. She explained that she had left town because she was having problems at home and wanted to start fresh elsewhere. She had no idea that her disappearance had caused such a stir and had no intention of harming anyone. The detectives were stunned by the situation and immediately contacted Laura's family to inform them that she was alive and well. The news spread quickly through the community, and people were relieved to know that Laura was safe. The police officer who had confessed to the murder was shocked to learn that Laura was alive and that he had confessed to a crime he did not commit. He argued that on the night in question, he had been drinking alcohol and did not remember clearly the events that led to the argument with Laura. He was immediately released from prison, and the investigation was reopened to try to uncover the truth about Laura's disappearance. In the end, the real twist in the story was that Laura was alive, and everything was just a misunderstanding. The community learned a valuable lesson about not jumping to conclusions and waiting for all the information before judging someone. The story of Laura and the police officer who had confessed to the murder continued to be investigated to find out what really happened on that fateful night. Reflection. The moral lesson of this story is that things are not always what they seem. We are often quick to judge and draw hasty conclusions based on limited or incomplete evidence. It is important to keep an open mind and not let our biases or assumptions cloud our judgment. Furthermore, it is essential to remember that we are all susceptible to mistakes, and it is easy to make wrong decisions in moments of emotion or stress. It is crucial that we exercise caution when making decisions and think about the consequences of our actions. If we make a mistake, we should have the courage to take responsibility and face the consequences of our actions. In conclusion, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have any suggestions for topics for future videos or want to leave any questions or comments, feel free to interact with the channel in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell notification to receive notifications of new videos. See you next time.